Hey everybody, it's another beautiful day in Hawaii, and I am here today with Mike Manning, who is a rapper, and he does some really incredible things with branding for his side. He's got some really interesting aspects and takes on business as it relates not just to rapping and the industry there and music, but products and services, and we're going to tie it all together. So no matter what kind of business you have, all of these principles are going to be really interesting to apply, bring in traffic and conversions and everything like that. So Mike, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about how you came into rapping, a little bit about your business and branding and how that all works together.
Definitely. First, thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this. I'm Mike. My artist name would go by Mike Sarge, and I'm a rapper. For most people, it would be considered positive hip hop, very clean. For people looking to look me up, don't worry about it. Your kids can hear it. It's nothing wrong with that. But I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Always had a love and a passion for just music in general, and that's for genres across the board, whether that's hip hop, whether that's pop, a little bit of rock influences, soul. I mean, like the list goes on, honestly. And I always had a love for music. And I'll say early 2012-ish, 2011, 2012. I just got to thinking, like, you know what? Maybe I should just try it, like just for fun. So I ended up just buying this like super cheap microphone, plugged it up to my laptop, and I was like, all right, let me try this. And what started off as just like a fun hobby, eventually turned into something much bigger. And now I'm here. I got stuff on multiple projects on Spotify and Amazon and things like that. And I'm doing performances and on YouTube and things like that. And I'm just really enjoying the journey right now.
That is really exciting. So, bringing it down to what's going on right now with the pandemic, how has that changed the way you do business? I mean, obviously, it's going to be difficult to have any kind of live performance, but you're also working and collaborating with the local community. So, how does that work when you can't actually be there side by side or have a crowd in front of you?
That's a good question. Really good question. I've always made it a point to make sure that however I'm communicating, I have multiple ways of doing that. So, for example, there are a lot of musicians that are hurting right now because they can't go to shows, as you mentioned. You know, there's social distancing happening. For me, half of my journey is the in-person going out to open mics, doing shows, but the other half is the digital piece. It's the social media piece. It's the conversations with people, whether they're in my local area or not. For me, it's given me honestly almost a bigger platform or a bigger really opportunity to engage those people that are leaving comments, that are sharing. Now I'm putting more of a focus on my email blasts and things like that. I have more of an opportunity to put in those strategies that I've planned out to say, all right, how do I want to engage with people? Because now, especially artists, musicians, whether you're a singer or a rapper or you're a band, we can all communicate with each other, and we don't have to be in front of each other, which is great, which is amazing. Someone could have a song idea and say like, "Hey, Mike, I would love to have you on this song. What do you think about it?" And just send me a rough draft through an email, and I can listen to it from the comfort of my own home, my own studio, and go, "All right, this is awesome. I like this." So in many ways, it's helped the modern artist, but I will say that COVID-19 is it's put a lot of pressure on artists as well, because now everyone feels like, well, you're at home now. What's the excuse to not release music or to release content? And if you're naturally a creative person, sometimes the pressure of expectation is enough to throw you off and almost give you writer's block, because you're feeling like, oh man, I have to release something. I have to release something. When the truth is, you just need to create and have fun with it. So I definitely see like the benefits, and I can also see how it might add a little pressure to artists now.
So that's a great thing to bring up. And I wanted to ask about like social media and everything because you were very highly engaged before the pandemic. And I follow you, and I've noticed that even now you're still incredibly highly engaged with your community, and they talk back to you, which is often a really big challenge. So I want to start with that, but then I also want to go back into productivity and how you actually maintain being productive during this time when there is that creative pressure. So let's start with the social media. How is it that what was the importance of being involved with your social media and with your following that got you started in that direction? And then how important is it now? What do you do? Have you changed the way you look at it and use everything?
Oh man. So social media, I think itself has just changed. I mean, over time. I mean, there was there was a moment where MySpace was the thing. There was a moment where there was MySpace, and then it like transitioned to Facebook, and then transitioned to Twitter, and then Instagram, and now we have Snapchat and TikTok. So social media is like this ever evolving thing. And as a even as a music artist, I still have to see myself as an entrepreneur. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's very much important that you are where your possible audience or customers are at. And so for me, it was very much a point to not only be in those spaces, but to go, okay, what's important to them? Like what's the type of content that I should be putting out based off the market that I'm in? I do notice that sometimes it's easy to just go, well, I'm on social media and I'm supposed to post something. Like I'm supposed to put out, pictures and videos. But the truth is, if I'm not putting something out that you actually care about, I'm probably wasting your time and I'm probably wasting my time as well. So for me, it was being intentional, going, all right, what the people that are followers of me, are fans of my music, what type of content do they like? Like, what are their interests? And for me, I know what that is. I know that the people that are interested in my stuff, they like good music. They love memes. For a good percentage of them, they're into sports debates or movie debates. And they have some type of religious affiliation. And because I know that, it's easier for me to know what type of content to release. But for a lot of people, they just see social media as a almost like a means to be famous or to get clout and things like that. But to be honest, social media is a tool. And so, just like if I had a hammer, if I don't know the purpose of the hammer, I'm just like, I have it for no reason. And social media is the same way. If you know what you plan on using it for, or you understand the purpose of it, you could be successful really in any area that you're in.
And that brings up another one. So first, let's get into productivity. And then everything you say, like I have 5 more questions that I want to line up with it. So this is great. Going back to the productivity though, like having so much creative pressure, and I'm going to bring in another element here, is that you're in the military as well. So you have a day job and you have this successful career as a rapper and you have a family. So
I do.
with the time to stay at home and all this creative pressure, you were productive before with a busy life. How has that changed for you? And do you feel affected by this pressure to be creative now that you have some time at home?
Oh man. So I'll say initially, I think like most people, I probably didn't handle it the best as far as like being home more, because there's this thought, like when things were what we considered normal, right? There was this thought that like, well, I never have enough time for this. I can't do this. I can't do that. Right. And then you're at home more and you're like, wait, I can catch up on rest. I can catch up on sleep. I can catch up on all the TV shows that I miss out on that everyone at work was talking about. I can do this. I can do that. So I think initially, maybe the first week I was just out of sorts. I didn't know what to do with myself. But to be completely honest with you, I think this has forced me to be even more disciplined, because regardless of who you are, sometimes there can be more distractions at home than there are when you're out and about. So, you could go like, hey, I know I'm supposed to cut the grass today. But that new show's supposed to come out. But that new video game. But this new this. Oh, this new that. So like there are tons of things to distract us. I mean, let's just take YouTube. If we're being honest, YouTube, you can watch one video and go down the YouTube rabbit hole for 2 hours. Um, and then look outside and like, wait, it's dark. So, for me, it caused me to be more strategic with my time and go, all right, so like this is what my week's looking like. These are the things that I know I have to get done. All right, so where are my slots? Where can I get rest? Where can I focus on music specifically? Where can I focus on helping others specifically? How can I make sure that the family time's in there? Okay, how can I make sure, and no one talks about this, where is that time for me? If you're an entrepreneur, if you're anyone trying to accomplish something, there has to be you time where your brain isn't so much on the business side or on the marketing side or whatever area of expertise that you're in. There has to be time for you, because if you don't take that time, you're going to burn out. And to answer your other question, as far as, do I feel the added pressure? For me, I think it's, I've almost turned it into I've almost turned that pressure into like a competitive edge. almost like, okay, we have more time and everyone's just kind of throwing out stuff, but I want to make this the best stuff. So if it's going to be something where I know my following, they're looking for something from me, oh, I'm going to give them stuff. But not only am I going to give them stuff, I'm going to give them stuff they're not expecting. This is a different situation, so let me give them something different. So matter of fact, one of the very first things that I did was I made a little 30-second song. I kind of made a beat. It was like a joke off of COVID-19. And I made a verse to it and I put it out on social media, and I got a really good response because all you see in the media, like all you saw in the media, especially when this first happened, was COVID-19, the coronavirus, this, social distancing. So I said, you know what, people need something to kind of ease their mind a little bit. So it's something that was trending. So I hopped on it. And I think many creatives can do that regardless of what area of expertise that you're in. You don't have to overthink it, or don't, if you feel like there's that pressure, take a step back and go, all right, what's something that I would do? Would I make a meme about this situation? Would I try to console people in this situation? Would I try to release a motivational video in this situation? And just do what you already naturally do, regardless of the situation. So for me, I've taken it more of a competitive edge, and it's caused me to become more focused.
It also sounds like you've got more like space to be creative too, right? So after you had that initial, I just need to take a week and figure out what life is supposed to be like, that I don't have to go to work this morning. And
Right.
then you were able to just kind of tap into the things maybe you probably were already looking at, but now you finally had some time to actually think through it. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that's super smart. And then you also talked before about really understanding your target market. So as well as like jumping on with current events and what you know is happening right now, so people are going to latch onto it and going to want to know more about it, you also really know your people. So knowing that, how does that tie into the lyrics and the kinds of songs that you produce? And because it's faith-based, like to me, that there must have been a decision made early on about which direction you wanted to go with your rap, because there's so many options. So
Absolutely.
talk a little bit about why you decided to go faith-based and clean, and then how you're working with your target market to kind of finesse that over time.
So for me, I'm a person that that's how I kind of carry myself. As far as not just the faith based, but as far as just clean, clean cut, fun, enjoyable, open to everyone, accepting of different thoughts and cultures and things like that. So that's me, the person. And originally, like when I said, it was just a hobby, I was just having fun. Well, the fun is me. Like that's not something that like I kind of like, I'm gonna be the fun rapper. Like it's something that was already a part of me. Just like when you look at major brands and you look at their CEOs, generally the values of that company are very much attached to the belief system of that CEO or of that partner or of that group, that committee. And so when I first started releasing music, I did hit a point where I had to make a decision, because there's already a stigma about rappers, what rappers talk like, what they look like, what their music sounds like. And for me, I wanted something, I knew if I got serious with it, I wanted it to be something to where not only could people not have to worry about, like curating it from the standpoint of like, oh, it's playing on the radio, they don't know who I am, and they're like, hold on, kids, cover your ears, I don't know what this is yet. Like I didn't want any apprehension about my music, number one. But two, I didn't want to limit where my music could go. So if it was a radio opportunity, I want someone to be able to go like, yeah, we can play this on the radio. Cool. But also if there was an opportunity at a birthday party, at a conference, at an event, commercial, TV show, I didn't want to put limits on myself and go like, you can only put him in these arenas because this is how his music sounds. And so like that was definitely one of my thought processes. And then on the faith side, honestly, I'm a very unapologetic type person. Like I'm very like authentic. That's where my motto comes from. And I figured, you know what, if people get to talk about this in their music, whether it's, the normal assumptions about hip hop culture, so sex, money, drugs, etc. If people get to talk about that and brag about that, I'm pretty sure I can talk about my life, my work, my family, the things I enjoy, including my faith. You know what I mean? And I didn't want there to be, I want people to understand that in whatever they have a passion for, they don't have to apologize for it. They should be able to be truly authentic to it, because the truth of the matter is, even though you're thinking about the 3 people that may not like it or may not want to listen to it, there's probably double that amount that really love who you are and really appreciate your story. And that's where everything just kind of, encompasses itself, where I'm like, you know what, this is where I need to go. This is the lane that I need to be in. And once I figured that out, once I hit that mark where I knew where I wanted to be, it was so much easier to market, because now I don't feel like I'm having to be fake. I don't feel like I have to put on this personality when I talk to people. It's me. It's 100% me. And so when people ask me questions, it's easy. I don't feel like, oh wait, how am I supposed to answer that? How am I supposed to? No, I just naturally answer, and it's all fun for me.
So, and I think that's really interesting, because we tell people that all the time when we work with other kinds of brands, a lot of product-based brands who feel like it's so restricting to have a story. But in reality, when we look at their brands, we see that they're kind of all over the place and they don't actually stand for anything. So would you agree that if by having that story, by niching down and actually focusing in on something that is, like you said, more authentic, you actually have more creative freedom and more focus?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I would say that. You get to, and many people don't think about this, but that's how you actually separate from everyone else. Like when you when you niche down, that's when people get the opportunity to go, wait, he's not doing what they're doing. Wait, why not? Wait, she's not doing what I'm accustomed to. Like, why not? And then that's when they start diving in to what you're about. And that's when that personal connection happens. And that's when they go, oh wow, like I have more in common with this brand than I thought I did. Or like, or let's just say that they don't have the same value system as you, but they may still go, wow, like I don't believe what they believe, but I really respect that. Like I really respect someone that's willing to stand out and like be in line with their story and who they are and being true to themselves. And so like, yeah, absolutely. I would say like the moment that you decide to niche down and focus on a particular group, just start nurturing that group, you'll have a lot more success than trying to just reach everyone. Because the truth is, if you're trying to reach everyone, you're not really reaching anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely agree. And kind of switching gears here and going back to your background, how difficult is it being in the military and being a business owner? What challenges have you faced as you've grown?
Ooh, man. You know what? I think this is going to be a funny answer, but I think time. Uh, just sometimes you feel like you don't have enough time in the day, uh, even when you have like a strict schedule of things. Being in the military, you have responsibilities, things that you have to get done. You're serving, right? And I wear it like a badge of honor. I love it and I enjoy it. But there definitely comes challenges, because what happens when you're trying to plan a show, or you're getting asked to do particular events in the future, and then you got to keep in mind at the same time, oh wait, do I have work that day, or do I have to travel out somewhere, or do I have responsibilities to where I can't leave the local area, things like that. Like all of these things you have to take into account. So it's like you're balancing the military side, the music side, your family side, if you have one, or even if you're single, like your own responsibilities and things like that. So it definitely brings a challenge. But what it really does, most importantly, is it forces you to focus. It forces you to actually have a schedule. Now, does life happen and sometimes that schedule get rocked a little bit and you got to make adjustments? Absolutely. But I think for the most part, it's that time part, just the feeling that you don't have enough time. But honestly, I've learned that you tend to make time for what's most important to you. And so I've just finally found my groove as far as the most important things to me, my priorities, and then figuring out how to balance them. And sometimes it just takes time. It just takes time.
I have found very similar. I have a day job as well in the military, and I found that the tasks, the limited amount of time that I have, makes me focus on what task is going to give me the biggest return in the end. What should be the biggest priority, because it's going to have the biggest impact on my business, as opposed to I need to batch out 6 pieces of content for the sake of creating content, over I'm going to create one piece of content. How am I going to promote this? How am I going to get traffic to my site using this and get as much out of it as I possibly can. And on that, like, and we were talking a little bit about collaboration. We have talked before about you reaching out to the local community and kind of connecting with other artists and other business owners in general, not just artists, to promote your business and drive traffic to each other. So talk a little bit about how you've done that.
Well, promotion, I have different ways of doing it. So the first thing for me is organic promotion, which would be like word of mouth. Looking at your connections, who do you bump, elbows? Well, I should say bump elbows, especially now. We're not hugging people now, but who do you bump elbows with? Who are your coworkers? Who are your friends and family members? Just basically your circle of influence. Who are those people, and how can you I don't even want to say manipulate, but how can you look at the people around you and go, all right, how can I help those people and how can they help me? Because that's super, super important. And then also on the organic piece is the digital side, so the social media side. And that definitely helps on the collab piece. And what I'm learning is collaborations oftentimes can skyrocket what you're trying to do way faster than trying to do it by other means. And what I mean by that is when I first got started and I was doing music on my own, the moment I started doing music with other artists, one, I got to learn about my particular field a little bit more and how things operate on the business side, which is always great. Having experience is always great. But what was cool about it is when the song is about to come out or whatever we worked on is about to come out, I'm promoting it, they're promoting it. Well, now their audience, who never even knew who I was, is being exposed to me. And my audience that had no idea who they were is now being exposed to them. So now you are just creating like you always have, but now you have the opportunity to have whether it's your product or your music or whatever, your services placed in front of a different demographic. And it's awesome. So collabing, like I always tell people, like, make sure that you're collabing. And especially in the music community where they're like, well, I'm not really getting support that I feel like I should be getting. And generally the first question that I ask is, all right, well, how involved are you in that community that you're trying to get support from? And, generally that answers the question, because if they're not heavy in that community, then that's probably why no one's supporting them, because no one knows who they are. But if they are heavy in the community, then where I go after that is, okay, so what's your definition of support? Are you wanting them to help you with something? Are there services that you're trying to offer? And so, but without the collaboration, none of that happens. The conversations don't happen. You learning what you need, learning what they need, it doesn't happen. So collaborations are huge. They're absolutely huge.
And you were talking about, I know you mentor a lot of other people, right? You mentor other artists and things. So that's what you're talking about, is when you tell them like you're not getting the support you need because you're not engaged enough. So what kind of, like, do you have any strategic tips or anything that you usually give people like that who are trying to engage in a community, say a Facebook group or something like that? How do you suggest they reach out and actually connect?
Well, I will say, number one is, I mentioned it recently, which is your, especially on social media, your DM etiquette, right? So if I saw you as someone that I wanted to work with and I wanted to collaborate with, and I see you maybe on like maybe a higher level than what I'm at, but I'm like, man, I love what she does, things like that. Something that would not help my case is me sending you a direct message and going, yo. Like that's not going to help. Or me sending a direct message and it saying, what's up? Well, from your end, you're like, who is this? Why are you messaging me? What was the point of this? Right. So, the way that you communicate with people is very, very important. The first tip I'd probably say is make sure that you're being professional. In everything that you do. Hey, you're an entrepreneur. So if I was to contact you instead and say, hey, how are you? I'm really a fan of your content. I love what you do for the community. I'm an artist myself, and I would love to collaborate on something in the future. That conversation is way different than yo. And so I always tell creatives, all right, one, pay attention to the way that you're communicating. But most importantly, before you even get to the communication part, what are you asking? Like, what are you asking for? And if you're that person that you're trying to communicate with, why would they want to work with you? Like, be honest with yourself, and why would they want to work with you, so that you can come up with a plan of how you want to communicate with them. So the communication piece is definitely key. And I would probably also say, I generally tell them, know what your end goal is. So especially with social media, if it's great if you have 1,000 followers, that's great. But a legitimate question that I would have for many people trying to reach that milestone and that metric is, okay, you have 1,000 followers, but does that mean you have 1,000 buyers? There's a clear cut difference between a fan and a follower. You can have 1,000 followers, but only 10 legitimate fans. And so I want people to understand that, like, just because you tell people, hey, just follow me, just follow me, just follow me, people can hit that, but you're only going to be hitting almost like a vanity number, a vanity metric. Being authentic is key, and putting out content that is engaging is important. So I can give a tip really fast. If you want people to engage, put out something where it drives conversation. Something simple that I do, and sometimes it gets on people's nerves, but they love it. Like, it gets on their nerves that they're arguing, but they don't understand why they want to keep arguing. So I might go, I'm a food heavy person. I love food. And I might go, all right, what's the better cereal? Fruity Pebbles or Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Now, off initial reaction, you're going to go, of course, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. But as soon as you say that, another person that's looking at the same post is going to go, what are you talking about? It's Fruity Pebbles. And that's where the conversation happens. So in whatever field that you're in, if you're in music, do the same thing with a singer. Who's better, Ariana Grande or Adele? And watch what happens. If you're in motivational speaking, who's better, Gary Vee or Eric Thomas? In whatever space that you're in, you can drive conversation, but it needs to be on the things that people in that space care about. In sports, who's the greatest of all time? You can do those things while also being true to yourself, because these are 9 times out of 10 things that you already have discussions about with other people in that space. These are things that you already think about. So make sure that you're pushing that through your platforms.
I think that's terrific advice. And it actually just gave me another element that I would talk about with like handmade businesses or e-commerce businesses and things. Often it's difficult to say you need to be the personal face, personal brand in some of those. Like for you, your brand is you. You are the product you are selling. So to translate that over to, say, jewelry or something like that, it all comes to like the message and the brand values that they promote. Like, what do they stand for? And then how can you translate it into a social media post that's engaging like that? How can you ask them, what's better, natural or cultured pearls? And people who are really into that, your biggest fans, are going to have an opinion one way or the other. So I think that's terrific advice. On the promoting and strategy and social media and everything, a lot of times when you get people onto your list, you're giving them something tangible, right? So for you, would it be a track, or what would you do to actually like give people a taste of your music if they're a first-time listener, or give them a taste of your brand if they're following you for the first time?
So I've actually made that a part of my social media posting. So let's say that someone just happened to come across my page, and they're like, "Oh, this is interesting. He's an artist. Oh, okay, cool. Wait, he's like a veteran too. All right, awesome." So one of the things that I do is once a week, I will drop some form of actual music content. So I have 2 different series for that. One is called 16 Salutes, and one is called Salt Sessions. 16 Salutes is when people give me a topic, and it could be of a TV show or of a celebrity or whatever it is happening in the world, and I will write a verse to it. I will either write a verse to it or I'll freestyle it, and I will post that. And I'll ask people, hey, what do you think? If you enjoy it, leave a comment or emoji or tag friends in it, etc. And then let me know what should the next topic be. So this helps drive conversation, but it also lets people know, like, oh, he is a music artist. This is what he does. And that's for 16 Salute. Salt Sessions is more music as far as like beat focused. So the same thing, they get to pick the topic. Matter of fact, last week, the topic was Lilo and Stitch. And I made a beat out of that. And people really enjoy it, and they get to do the same thing. Now, what's cool about it is I get the opportunity right now to where I'm building this collection, and I'm going to have it as a CD, and I'm also going to have it as a private link. So for those people that sign up for my email list, they're going to automatically get that huge collection for free. And that's just something that I do, whether it's like, whether I know I have a new project coming out, whether I know I have new merchandise coming out, I always try to find something that I'm able to give back, that's already in that vein, in that lane of what I'm doing. Because people do like tangible things. People do like to have things that they can hold on to in an experience. That's actually another reason why I do my shows. Before my show starts, I will hop out on the stage and I'll place maybe 2 or 3 t-shirts on the stage where people can't see them. I might put it behind the speaker, and maybe I might start the show and go like, hey, how's everyone doing? And the first person that I notice is like the loudest, I'll go like, hey, hold on, you that was just screaming in the back, hold on, I got something for you. And I'll grab the shirt and I'll throw it out to them. So now I've got everyone's attention. Like, wait, he's giving out t-shirts? Wait, hold on. I thought, I don't even know this guy, but now he's got my attention. So there are little things that you can do to to drive attention or to catch people's attention. For others, it might just be going, if you have a product, going like, hey, we're gonna have a sale this weekend, 10% off, 15% off for everyone that signs up for our email list. So there are little things that you can give back to people. And maybe that 15% is towards a markdown item that you have low inventory for. You're not really trying to market that hard. You're just like, I just need to get rid of it. There are strategic ways that you can do it. But for me, those are ways that I do it.
And I thought that was really cool too, because if you take the thought of like standing in front of a crowd of people and put it online, it's like rewarding your most engaged followers publicly. Absolutely. Which everybody wants free things, right? And so if they're like, oh man, if that person can do it and they're just talking, like I can do that. And then you're going to get more people involved and more people engaging just to get like, I want to win something too.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing that people can do, I've been making this like a strong point when I go live stream, is people love, like when you go live stream, people love when, as they're popping in, you acknowledging their name. Because now there's like this rush, like, oh wait, he said my name, like he recognized me, like, oh, that's me. Because I don't know if you've ever hopped on a live stream with someone that you feel like is bigger than you or a celebrity. When you see them talking to other people, there's like this subconscious, like, I wish they would talk to me. I wish they would comment back to what I said. But when they actually do, it gives you this rush of energy and excitement. And so when people follow you or they follow your brand and you're doing things, whether it's live streaming or you're making a post or whatever it is, and people take the time out of their day to leave a comment, and not just leave a comment, when people leave like sentences, that means they took their time. Like they really want you to see it. Like take your time, take the time to definitely comment to them. And like make them feel special, like they are the only one that's got your attention in that moment. And when you do that, man, you got you a lifelong fan.
Thank you for saying that. We have actually had the experience where we talk to people and they're like, I don't want to give the impression that I actually have time for that. And I want them to think that I am super busy and super successful. And to me, I'm just like, that's so backwards, because you're in a service position as an influencer. You're there for them. You're not there for you. So you have to engage with them. Like otherwise, if you're going to give crickets, they're going to give crickets right back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so kind of taking the organic side to more paid, like I know you're using Facebook ads and things. So we've talked about this before. In your opinion, how do Facebook ads and music kind of work together? And what are you doing to strategically promote in that direction?
So Facebook ads is a super, super powerful tool. It is, I would almost say this, it allows you to reach the people that you wouldn't be able to reach on a everyday basis. That I wouldn't be able to necessarily bump elbows with on a regular basis. And it's great. So literally I can make an ad towards particular interests. And especially if you know your market, and I know my market, I know like the age range, and I know, you know, the areas that I want to target as far as countries and things like that. And this ad might be like the one that works well for me is my freestyle. So I might have a 30 to 60 second clip of me freestyling, and it's going out to all these people, showing up in their social media feeds and things like that. And it's great because now they're like, wait, if they like it, they're like, wait, who is this? And now they're doing that search to find me, and they're like, oh, he's on Spotify, he's on Instagram, he's in this place, he's in this place. And it's great because had it not been for that ad, they wouldn't know who I am through normal means. Most people, they know the big names in particular industries. So if you say Drake to someone, they know exactly who that is. You say Beyonce, they know exactly who that is. But when you're smaller, you know, there are strategic ways that you can get your stuff in front of people, and ads is a way to do that. Advertising is a way to do that. And for music, it's going to be more and more prominent. Honestly, I think really in every space, it's becoming more prominent. There's this fight for attention because everyone's on their phone. Everyone's on their phone, and now it's at the point where when you're scrolling, it seems like for every 5 posts, it feels like 1 to 2 are sponsored posts. So ads are something that are definitely becoming important in the music industry, and I can see them being even more important in other industries.
Yeah, and I think I found it really interesting when you said you're just doing a freestyle. And I don't mean just as in like, whatever. I mean, you're not saying like, here's my album, buy it now. You're giving them something, no pressure. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how do you structure that? Do you have a promotion at the end, or do you let the copy promote underneath the ad? How do you structure that?
So I am fairly strategic on that part. So I'll have, when I'm making the video, I'll have the video in the middle, and then I might have text, you know, text on top and text on the bottom. The text on top might say, you may have, you know, my username or my artist name, Mike Sarge. And then on the bottom of the video, it'll say stream on Spotify with the Spotify logo to give it that validity, that it's legitimate. And so now they're not just watching something, I'm giving them a call to action after they watch it. That's one of the ways that I do it. Another way is when I'm working on videos, sometimes I'll put it within the actual video. And what I mean by that is you might watch me do a particular thing, or I'm talking or I'm rapping, and then it might cut early, and then you'll see text pop up and go, to hear the full song, go here, or swipe up, or click the link. So there are ways that you can strategically not only get people's attention, but get them to move to the next step if they're really a fan of it. If they thought it was, it's okay, and they swipe past it, that's okay, because you want the people that are really engaged with what you do, that are really like that, really, really love what you do. Because if you get those people, those are going to be the same people when you release a new product, a new album, a new shirt, a new whatever. Those are going to be the very people that are going to sign up, and they're going to want to buy it. So for me, it's not just, you know, about the creative. Well, I call it the creative, not just about the creative as far as like the video or the content you're putting out, but what are you asking from them later? I'm all about give, and then ask. So I'd rather just give you free music, give you free music, give you free discounts, give you this, give you that. And then by the time, say, an album comes out, they're like, oh, wait, I have no problem buying it because I've gotten all this from him, and he's invested in me, and I love his stuff. I love his story. I love what he's about. So by the time the album comes out, they're like, oh, where can I buy it? Where can I pre-order? Where can I buy that new t-shirt? Where can I get those wristbands? Where can I get like there, or where can I buy tickets to go to the show? And so if I can get, you know, entrepreneurs and people to understand it's about the give, people will have no problem coming back when you have something that you want to push towards them.
Thank you for saying that too, because absolutely. And I think people get stuck on the idea that I have to make money from an ad in order for it to be worth my time. And when you're in a brand awareness stage, like people don't know who you are yet. So you can't necessarily make that ask. That's a really big ask for people who don't know you. So to give and provide value, that quality of reciprocation, which is a sales, like it's a part of the marketing process. It's a principle that's been there for decades, almost said centuries. I'm sure centuries ago they were selling. Sure. But to have that and understand that you need to be giving value over and over again, and then coupling that with a traffic impactor like a Facebook ad, you're getting your brand out there and you're getting seen. And that thing you're getting back, what you're getting paid with, is that traffic of really loyal fans, people interested in what you have to say. So, and what you were doing there was putting content out, right? You weren't saying like, here's this album sale, which could be a Facebook ad, but this particular one was just content. So what people could do if they're in a different space is create a video that's content-based and value delivery, create a blog post that's content-based and value delivery, and exactly what you just said, like, click the link to finish watching it. Nobody wants to like get up to the point where they're about to close a loop on the question they have and not get it. I think that's a really great idea as far as like promoting content.
Absolutely. Like I would, absolutely. Like I would even make it a point to know what those questions are. Like if you're in a particular space, what are the most common questions that people have in your space? If you know that, then you've already like you're halfway through the battle already. Like you're already there, because if you know the questions that people are asking, then not only do they feel like you're connecting with them, but now you can tailor your services to that. And into what you were saying, because I absolutely agree about like just the content, like not feeling like you have to sell all the time. What's interesting is if you're putting out content that they like, they're going to do the buying without you even saying anything. There are times where I've had a video or I've had something where I wasn't trying to push like selling anything, but I just had my information in the description, or I had my website in the link in the bio or something like that. And then they would go to that link and they're like, oh, wait, he has t-shirts. Oh, I'm going to buy two. I never told them to buy anything, but because they enjoyed the content, they did their own research. They clicked on links, they went around the site, they looked around my social media, and they decided to do it on their own. So if you are authentic to what you do, and you're connecting with people and you're engaging with their comments and everything else, and like I said, you're putting out good content, it's going to come. Like it's going to come anyway. So it's just, we got to play the patience game a little bit. We just got to be a little bit patient. I know we're kind of in a microwave generation. We all want the numbers right now. We want the views and subscribers and the invites and the celebrity status, but when you are doing what you love, there is a process and there is a journey. So just be confident in what you're doing.
I think that's great advice. And on that, like a lot of people will say they're not ready for making ads. They're not ready for shooting videos. They're not ready for putting out content in maybe a bigger way because maybe they don't have the right software. They don't have the right hardware. They don't have their lighting and camera and all this. What do you say would be like the right time to start? Do you have to wait for all this stuff, or how would you get started like that?
Oh man, that is a good question. That's a really good question. So I will say this, because there is a bit of self-reflection in this, and I will say, one, be honest about your intentions. So if you're someone that you just want to do this to have fun, and you just see it as a hobby, like there are artists that ask me about that, like, well, I don't feel like I have the right equipment and I don't have this and that. And I'll say, well, you're not trying to do this like seriously. You're not trying to do this competitively or anything. So just go to karaoke night, just do an open mic, have fun, just go out there, do your thing. And as you buy equipment, okay, you buy equipment. But what I will say is there does seem to be added pressure, because now you have 15, 16-year-olds that have access to entry-level stuff, and it looks great. There used to be the days where like you could get away with having pixelated video and you could get away with your audio not being that great. Now, not so much. But the reason why people aren't able to get away with it as much is because now there's so much access to like entry-level stuff that sounds great. You don't have to go out there and spend $1,000 on stuff. Like you don't. You have kids with USB microphones that are like $80, $100 that their parents bought, what I mean? And they could just plug it in their computer and go. And so what I would say to someone that is concerned about their equipment, what I would say is do your research, figure out what exactly you need, like figure out what's an actual need and what is just something that's a want. I understand that pressure, because when you go on YouTube and you search for things, like if I want to be a podcaster, okay, what's the equipment I need to be a podcaster? Sometimes there's this pressure to not just get the mic and the interface or the mic in that program. Sometimes there's this pressure that I gotta have everything in their video. I gotta have their laptop. I gotta have their their treatment in their room. Oh, I need that LED light that's in that back corner. I need like everything. So I'm seen as a professional. And sometimes people don't want to take the small steps. Just take the small steps. Get what you need, which normally is the laptop and a microphone. Like if you start there, like the laptop, the microphone, and then obviously you're going to need like software or program. If you start there and just start learning the program and watching tutorials and figuring out how to use it and things like that, you're naturally going to get better. So I'll say start there, like just start entry level. Don't put that much pressure on yourself. Get to entry level stuff, learn how to use it. And if you feel like you're getting stressed out, you're like, I'm not a technology person. Like I can't do this. That's fine. See if you can find other people in your area or in your community, or people that maybe they're not in your space, but they use that type of equipment. Like if you're a music artist and you couldn't figure it out, I would go to someone that does podcasts or radio, or someone that's a YouTuber. And I would ask them because they're using the same type of equipment. Same thing. If you're a podcaster or if you're a brand and you have no idea what to do with audio equipment, think about people that use audio. Artists, musicians, singers, rappers, bands, and see if you can ask them. Everyone has access to YouTube and Google. Those are like the most powerful tools out right now. And so there's a point where like if you get entry level stuff and you feel frustrated, take a step back, see if you ask for help, but definitely use Google, definitely use YouTube. There are hundreds of thousands of videos out there. And if you watch a video and you're like, I'm flustered, I didn't get anything that person said, then go to another video. Because sometimes I found that if I'm watching a video and I didn't get anything out of it, maybe it's just that that person bored me. Let's just be honest. Either that person bored me and I just kind of tuned out, or I felt like they overcomplicated what I was trying to learn. So go find a person that speaks your lingo. Like find someone that makes it easy for you, that you don't need the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You might be a person that just needs like a plus b equals c. That's all I need, right? And that's okay. Just find people, find situations, and find equipment that helps you work the way that you work.
That's great. So, and that applies to everything too, right? Everything has layers, but there's a foundation. And you can't stack like the Ferrari on top of the dirt road. You have to build that paved road first before anything's going to drive on it. So there's no sense in trying to get ahead of yourself, especially when that's going to overwhelm you. It's going to cost a lot. It's going to take more time. Like start small. I think that's great advice. On that, I think all of this has been really inspiring and helpful as far as somebody who feels overwhelmed with that kind of thing. Did you have someone who inspired you and helped you take those small steps in the beginning?
Oh, man. So in the beginning, very, very beginning, I had a friend who was a rapper as well. And what's funny about it is he helped, but he didn't. Like he was there as like almost like the moral support. Like came in like, okay, you'll figure it out. I know you will. But he did help me to understand. He did help me to understand that I have to move differently. I have to operate differently. And I'll explain it like this. Just like when you're in your early, like when you're in middle school and high school, you kind of go through puberty stage where you're trying to figure out who you are. Well, when you are building a brand, for me, I'm a music artist, but for someone else that's doing something else, you go through that all over again, trying to figure out who you are as an artist, who you are as a promoter, who you are as an engineer, as a teacher, as a doctor, as a lawyer. Like you're trying to find your brand identity. And so like he was important in helping me find that. But I'll say most importantly, sometimes what you learn the most are from people that aren't that close to you. Like I was able to, even though he didn't say much, there were things that I noticed about his brand, the good and the bad, that I was able to study and make mental notes about and go, okay, I think that would be good for my brand. I think that's good. And then there'll be other things where I'm like, I want to be better than that. I want to fine tune that. I want to be better at that. And so if there are people that you look up to, whether they're people in your local area or they're people that you see online, if there are motivational speakers that you love, or if there are other people in your space that you follow and pay attention to, what moves are they making, or what moves are they making, and what tidbits. Don't just pay attention to like the tips that they're giving. Like, how are they carrying themselves? Like, look at the theme colors that they use. How's their logo look? Pay attention to those things, because those are going to be the very things and decisions that you're going to have to make for your brand as well. So for me, he was a great, like, my buddy was a good like inspiration for me, from the good and the bad. But it also pushed me. It pushed me because it let me know that, like, all right, in order for me to be successful at this, I can't just sit back and wait for someone to give me a cosign, or me just kind of sit back and complain like, oh, I need someone to help me. I need someone to help me. People that have their own brands, they're all working on their individual brands hard. They're working hard every single day on them. So if you're expecting someone to stop working on their brand to give you all of their time, it's probably not going to happen. They're going to have to love you like a lot. And not that they don't care about you or love you. It's just that you're going to reach a point where you're going to have to go like, hey, this is my brand. Like, this is my story, and I should be the one to tell it, and I shouldn't put it on someone else to tell my story.
And I think we had talked earlier about a particular person who did inspire you after you had started creating music, who she came to you and kept pushing you and pushing you. I would love for you to share that story, because I knew it really impacted me. So I would like everyone else to hear it too.
Oh, absolutely. At my job, at my previous office, I had someone that was very much a free spirit. And this person checked up on me every single day. We used to chop it up, laugh, joke, talk. She was huge into food, and the things that she bragged about cooking and things like that. And I would always make sure that she'd bring me something. So we would talk about it. And when she realized that I was a music artist, she would ask me like, okay, I've heard a few songs and things like that. When's the album coming out? And I told her like, well, I'm not really in this space to release an album right now. I released one back in 2017, but I'm not really in that space right now. And so she waited until it was just me and her. And so she asked me like, hey, I need you to explain what you mean by that. And so I told her, hey, there are some experiences that I wasn't ready to talk about. And she reminded me that, well, your story isn't for you, it's for other people. And she reminded me that because I say it all the time. And so after that, she just started getting on to me. Like every day after, she'd go like, hey, how's the album going? Like every single day. She didn't want to hear me talk about anything else. But it did push me. It did push me to go like, all right, she's not going to let this up until I release it. In albums, it's not like I could be like, all right, the album's out next week. Like albums are things that you actually have to put in time and work to invest in. So what ended up happening is when I told her, hey, the album's coming out, she was super excited. We're getting closer and closer to the release. The album releases. It's doing really well the first like 72 hours. I found out that I charted on iTunes. It was going great. And she was taking a trip to Europe. So I knew that I would have to wait. I didn't want to like message her and be like, hey, we charted on iTunes. Like I wanted to wait till we got back to work to tell her. I get back to work and there are people in the office that are crying and I have no idea why. And kind of find out she had a seizure, a really bad seizure. The doctors couldn't do anything by the time she actually got there. And so she passed away. And then it was rough. It was rough on everyone. It's definitely rough for me. And then a couple weeks later, her sister, who lives in the same town, in the same area, was talking to me and she said, hey, just want to let you know that she knew. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, she knew that you charted. She was paying attention to everything that was happening. And she said that she called her sister to tell her how proud of me that she was. And it gave me a sense of release and peace, honestly, after. And so I ended up writing a song in her memory. It's called Little Red Bird. And it's like one of the more close-knit songs to me. I wasn't even going to release it until her sister told me that I needed to. Right now, any proceeds that I get from it, I give it back to the community back there, the arts community that she was super, super involved in. But she was by far like one of the most influential people on me while I was in that space. She helped me she helped me figure out that, like, look, even when you're going through things and you want to stop, or not even that you want to stop, you just kind of make excuses for why you can't push forward, why you can't release that product, why you can't release your brand, why you can't get on video and talk to people. She's like, while you're doing that, you're preventing someone else from getting through it. Like, you're in the midst of it and you're getting through it, but someone else needs to know that they can do it too. So you might have a family member, you might have a friend that has big goals and has dreams, but their dreams scare them to death, just like yours scare you to death. And I would encourage anyone that's listening or watching to really sit back and go like, no, I can do this. And also just know that you're probably feeling fear, not just because of what you're trying to accomplish, but in my case, I was comparing myself to other people when I already had my own lane, I already had my own thing that I do, and you have your own thing that you do. And oftentimes when we feel fearful of things, we're comparing ourselves to someone that's already made it, or someone in our local community that doesn't have our same story or our same product or anything like that. When the truth is, you are you. And I want everyone to be authentically them. And she was one person that every single day until that album came out, she pushed me to be the authentic me.
And that's your brand, isn't it? I think we talked about that before.
It is authentic. Live authentic is my motto.
And I thank you very much for sharing that. I think that hopefully that has an impact on everybody. I think that is just a really beautiful story, and I appreciate you sharing it. It's very vulnerable. And
No
I think that's really important, right? Is to share these personal things. And so when people get stuck on what is, I think there's a disconnect between everything's got to be about sales and, well, you became an entrepreneur for a reason, right? This is supposed to be something fulfilling for you. There's supposed to be some element of freedom here. Otherwise, why do it? And latching onto those things that give us purpose, I think, is where we can find that connection with other people and make it more than just about selling and making money, but about having this community and growing together and finding that true place where you do feel like you're fulfilled and find purpose.
Absolutely.
And on that, you just released another album, is that right?
It was a new single. I released it. It's called No Go. It is it's one that if you're a workout person and you need some high energy to add to your playlist, this is it. 2020 has been rough on everybody, and so I just wanted to encourage people in a more upbeat way. It's the name of the song is No Go, but it's to say like, hey, any doubt, any fear, any type of feeling like I can't accomplish my goals this year, that's a no go. That's I'm not accepting that for myself, my life, my family, anything like that. I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna keep pushing through.
Awesome. Is there any other things you want to share? Anything else before we go into sign-offs and I ask where people can find you and follow you?
So I go by the name of Mike Sarge, Sarge, like half for sergeant. You can find me on just any and every platform. So on social media, that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok as well. I actually have a website, www.mikesarge.com. If you need help with anything, just need someone to hear you out on what you're trying to accomplish, things like that. I have a contact form on there. Just fill that out and I will get back with you. But outside of that, I really enjoyed my time being here.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed having this great conversation with you. We ticked so many boxes on from mindset to practicality and everything in between, and we heard all about your story. So thank you so much for being on. We're going to drop links for that in the show notes. So make sure you like, share, and review, because the more we hear from you, the more people can hear from amazing artists like Mike Sarge and other entrepreneurs on this podcast and learn how to grow their businesses better. So thank you so much. Until next time, this is Darian with DNC Marketing, and I'll see you on the next podcast. Bye, guys.